Welcome back to Composition as Allies. My name is Barney. I'm a classical composer, and this is a channel for composers as well as performers interested in composition. In today's episode of Composition for Beginners, we're going to talk about the most essential information if you want to get started composing. I think there are two parts. There's the performances, and then there's the scheduling. We'll start with the performances. I firmly believe in what's called the trifecta. Okay, so to grow as a composer, to really be able to become a better composer, it's not about having a teacher. Teacher can be helpful, but you need the trifecta. Okay, so the trifecta are the live performances, there's the rehearsal process, and then there's the recording. You need to hear the live performance because you got to hear the goodies. Okay, you have to hear how your piece works from start to finish. Okay, is your piece too long? Is it too short? Certain passages don't make sense. They don't sound as you intended. Part of that, of course, will be working with the performers, but you got to hear it live, okay? Another important aspect is the rehearsal process. You may not be invited to rehearsals. Ideally, you can get into the rehearsal, but for example, my first piece I ever composed, which was a trio for bassoon, clarinet, and oboe, I was using a computer at the time to compose, and as a consequence of this, the writing for the oboe in particular was way too fast, way too high, sounded great in the computer, but then the rehearsal process, it was taking so much time to rehearse these sections, it wasn't worth it. And so as a result of having to hear this music and having to rehearse it, I got better at writing for the oboe as well as other instruments. I think a rehearsal is just having access to rehearsals can really replace a teacher. A teacher is nice. It can really give more definition, but really the rehearsals is where it's at in terms of just the learning. And then you also need a recording. So you need the recording because you want to be able to promote the work. You want to send it to the competitions. If you want to work with other performers, they're going to ask to hear like a representative recording of your work. And also if you want to review it. So maybe there's probably when you first start, you're going to be super dissatisfied with the performance. You're going to be unhappy with certain things. And then you can go over with a composition teacher or someone else and discuss what went wrong or what could be improved. There is also scheduling, okay? And this is really essential because if you don't have a piece that gets performed, then you have a piece that you invested 3, 4, 5, 6 months of your life in, lots of countless hours, didn't get paid a dime, and you never get to hear performed, okay? And that's a big problem for a lot of composers. Have a couple pieces that just, for whatever reason, just could never get performed, and it's rend hommage, as we say in French, okay? So you need to secure performers. Either that's done, you have to pay them, or you're going to have access to performers as part of your program, or you work with lots of performers and are interested in your music, okay? And the two things you need to secure from the performers are, or you need to realize, is the level and the conditions, okay? The level of the performer is really important because you can't just compose in the void. So for example, when I was in Paris, for my Paris composition recital, I had some professionals, but I also had some high-level amateurs. So for the high-level amateurs, I had to compose at something that they could master in a short amount of time, something fairly sight-readable. I think one of the dangers for beginner composers is that they write music that's too hard and not idiomatic. So you have to know what level your performer is at, and preferably write a little bit lower so that they can like learn the piece fairly quickly and work more on the musicality instead of all the technicality. Also, conditions are really important. For example, Pop for Solo Clarinet, which is a piece I composed in Paris, was for a professional clarinetist who was going to be premiering a lot of new works. So immediately I thought, new works, that means difficult, right? Everyone has a different style. A lot of times new works are just take more time to learn. So I had to compose something that would sound good in a short amount of time, aka write something that was fun and challenging for her level, but was still fairly sight-readable so she could work more on the musicality, okay? So level of the performer and conditions is integral because if you start composing a piece that's doesn't fit these conditions, then you can be very dissatisfied if you even get a performance. And the final thing is the concert and the due date. You have to have a concert and a due date secured in advance because that's where the juices get going. If you don't have a due date or a concert scheduled, then you're just going to be composing in the void, and the composers tend to procrastinate. So when you have that concert, that's when you get like excited. You can also invite people to the concert. Thank you so much for listening, and I wish you the best of luck as a composer. Have a great day.